All right, hello everybody. Okay, welcome to the AI in action for this week. And this week, looking at my handy dandy notes here, we are definitely talking about Notebook LM, one of my favorite tools, and then also data analysis just in regular chat. So let's get started with Notebook LM. Again, it's one of my tools that I use regularly. It is part of the Gemini Google universe, of their suite of AI products. And what makes it very special is that it adheres to whatever sources you give it. Now, is it absolutely 100% perfect? Nothing is 100% perfect, but it is the strongest adherence to source material that I have found, which is a plus and a minus. Other tools out there, they will look at source materials, such as a Claude project. You'll give it source materials. However, it thinks a little bit more broadly and outside of the box. This one pretty much dials in with the sources that you give it. So let's create a notebook. As you can see, I use quite a few of them here. I use them all the time as a great a great tool. All right, let's start a new notebook. And then what's cool about it is you can have all of these notebooks, kind of the I guess what they if you think about what they're titling it, it's a notebook, and you kind of put in that notebook binder, what you want to go into that notebook binder. We're going to just play around here. I've never done this one before, but we will. I taught a class in evidence-based management, so I'm going to load a kind of a simplified PDF of that textbook so that I could load a text. I could load full textbooks in here if I wanted to. Now, I think it would be better to do chapters. You could give it many sources. I think you can have up to 100 different sources in here rather than dumping, for example, I have a full PDF. If you could read that little PDF thing of evidence-based management, it's like a 360-page textbook. It would be a little hard for it to digest and work with it as we'll see here in a moment. But if I was going to load that textbook, I would put chapters in, and then that would be easier for it to manage and easier for me to manage as I'm working through different chapters, because you may want to do mind maps or video overviews, flashcards, whatever, maybe with specific chapters. So in this case, I'm going to give it a reasonable PDF around 30 pages, and we're going to load that into there. Simple drag and drop, as a lot of these things are. If you've noticed on the adding sources button, we'll let that go through its load here. On the adding sources button, you can have this linked to your Google Drive. You can just put regular text in here, websites, upload files. I just noticed, I don't know how long it's been there. It may have been there longer than I've noticed, but I noticed this week YouTube has a button that says Notebook LM right on it. So you can click that and have your YouTube videos that you want. Maybe you're studying a topic, um, or maybe you're shopping for a new car and you're putting in YouTube review videos in there. You could have them in a particular notebook. You could have all of those in there, and it's going to reference those videos. It's going to look at the transcript. It's going to know the contents of the words said in that YouTube video. I've done notebooks with YouTube videos in there. You just had to drop the link, but now there's a cool little button right in YouTube. So go figure. And of course, YouTube's part of the Google universe, so that makes it kind of nice. But we're doing a really simple. We're just doing one source document. In reality, you're probably going to have 5, 10, maybe multiple source documents about whatever topic that you're looking at. Okay, so it's Reddit. It's providing a little synopsis here. It's even already loaded in a title. I love it. I'm not even going to change the title. Let's leave that title. And from here, we could ask questions of it, just like you can in normal, AI chat, but now it's going to reference this PDF. So I'm going to start with something basic. Can you please list the basic concepts in order of evidence-based management? And let's see again. It's gonna it, in, this is this particular author's their I guess framework. It's all pretty much the same, but they have a very specific framework, as you can see here: asking, acquiring, appraising, aggregating, applying, and assessing. So, yep, spot on. Pulled it right out of that PDF. So again, you can go back and forth, ask questions of the PDF. Again, if you're studying for anything, this would be my, I probably spend a huge amount of time studying here. For example, I studied recently for an exam for to get my motorcycle endorsement. So I loaded the Ohio Motorcycle Manual in there. You probably saw one of my notebooks that said motorcycle on there. And I've been quizzing myself and making mind maps and flashcards. Let's remove my picture here. Let's explore some of these features. One of the features you've already been introduced to. Maybe you knew it, maybe you didn't, because it is absolutely one of the slickest things I've ever seen and was one of the first features that they put in the studio. If you notice, there's these three panels here. We have the sources, this is your bookshelf, your chat, this is where you do the work, and then the studio, and this is like where the fun, cool things are at. You could make a PowerPoint, you can do a mind map. Now, some of these things, like the video or audio overview, those of you've been already exposed to. That is that podcast that you're listening to. That audio overview, I'll just click it. We're not going to, well, we could have one spin up. It takes a while, but you can customize how you want that podcast to interact. So right now you've been getting what's called the deep dive. That's kind of the generic one. Um, it's a little bit longer in length and a little bit more detail, and has the two different speakers in there. So I could have done a brief one, and I did play around with it. The brief was a little too brief, and the critique didn't quite fit, and nor did the debate didn't really fit the material that we were using. But you can play around with the format, and short, long, default. By the way, the ones that you were getting are coming in at the default length, which seemed to be kind of the sweet spot. And then also you can customize it to what you really want them to focus on that episode. So that's the Deep Dive podcast. They are pretty flawless in the way they interact. Occasionally they'll glitch a word, but you got to really be listening pretty intently. So great way to study, especially if you're driving in the car and you just want something to listen to and studying materials. The audio overview is great. Video overview will do the same thing, a little bit different format. It will kind of be a narrated PowerPoint, and you can customize how that looks. Quizzes, this is great. Let's do a quick quiz here. We'll do standard, medium. Yeah. All right. I think this will generate maybe 10 questions. I've had it generate, I think, up to 40 questions at a time. And then even if you do that standard generate, it will always generate, like, it will never be the same. So you can keep doing smaller quizzes if you like. Now, this will take a little while to generate it. We'll let it do its thing. Let's see if we can do something really quick here. Mind map. This is also pretty cool. Oh, it's going to take a spin up here a little bit. I'll tell you what I'll do is while it's spinning up. Oh, okay, super good. All right, the mind map's ready to go. So again, what's amazing about this new future of AI is that you can have an instructor, or you can learn things the best way that's for you. Some people like visual mind maps. I love visual mind maps. I love flashcards. Those help me learn. Maybe you're an auditory learner. You have that as well. So now you can really get the content to adapt to the way that you want to learn or you want to understand it or study it. But these mind maps are really, really cool. So again, you can, let's go pull that back out, but you can keep expanding that. Let's zoom back in here. And this is going over those 6 steps that were in there, and then you can expand further. Let's see, sometimes it'll reach an end. Oh, sorry, it's still gathering. actively doing it. Oh, and here it goes. All right, so it's still asking the core question. Okay, so instead of mapping it out further, it said it was smart. It basically determined it was smarter to give me this narrative, basically about this asking phase. Um, Sometimes it will keep branching out and then eventually reach an end point where it says, here you just got to read, you basically need to read this. But these mind maps are very, I think, very cool. All right, let's go back to Studio. And let's see, our quiz is still generating. We'll wait on that. One I've never done is infographic. Let's go ahead and try that. Oh, let's see here. Oh, we'll just let it auto select and we'll let it generate. All right, we're going to let those generate. I'm going to pause the video while that's going on so you guys don't have to see the spin. We'll take a look at that and then we'll kind of move on to our next topic. Okay, we are back. So the quiz is finished. I actually started a second quiz in there as well, but we'll take a look at the first quiz, and also the infographic is done. So let's check this out. So what the infographic made up. Okay, this is kind of cool. I remember you can change the styles of the infographic on how you like it. Oh, this is interesting. Yeah, so basically, it got the 6 steps in there: the ask, acquire, the appraise, the aggregate, and the apply and assess. And okay, very neat. Yeah, no, I like it. Um, Oh yeah, I'm breaking down the types of information used in evidence-based management. So yeah, this is another interesting way to study. Again, it would be a nice little visual aid as I'm, prepping or I'm learning a topic, um, or maybe I'm presenting. I mean, you could use Notebook LM. There are other tools as well, which we will go over. Not in great detail because there are so many different tools out there, but there are tools that will produce infographics. But I would definitely I could lift this, I could cut and paste this and put this into a WordPress or a PowerPoint presentation if I needed to. So a lot of cool ideas here. Let's go ahead and cancel this out and let's take a look at the quiz. So we did 10 questions. Oh, and I added hints. Yeah, I forgot it did the hint part on there. That's kind of neat too. So according to the material provided, what are the 3 adjectives used to describe the use of the best available evidence in the definition of evidence-based practice? Remember, I mean, it's going back to the source material. It's going back to that PDF and what the answer is. Also know that, and imagine if you had 10 or 20 sources in here, you can select sources. So if you wanted to do just a mind map on chapter 3 and you had 15 chapters in here, you could do that. Where I think it would be hard is if I had loaded that entire textbook in here. It doing a mind map on the entire textbook would probably be difficult. So think about that as you're building your sources in there, whether they're web pages, YouTube videos, PDFs, Word docs, whatever. If they're somewhat chunked, in categories or chapters, that would probably be best. All right. I guess especially if you're studying. Now, if I was using this as like a master reference, I could load the entire book in there, that PDF, because I'm not studying, I'm like asking specific questions about the entire reference. I think that would be applicable as well. So think about how you're using it. That could help. The other the other thing that folks ask me is, well, sometimes especially for textbooks, if you have an ebook, it's not very easy you can't just copy and paste. It'll allow you to do some of it, but then most of them typically shut down. There are a million ways to digitize anything on a screen. So I use, especially for those textbooks that are, somewhat protected. And Are you cheating? No. You're not distributing this. You're not giving it to anybody else. It's for your own purposes. So that is perfectly fine in my opinion. But there's a ton of apps out there that if you're on your laptop that you can use. I use one, and I use a Mac, but they're for every system out there. Um, oh, let's see, where is it? Oh, Text Sniper. So basically, I can just drag a box across anything on the screen. It will grab it, does optical character recognition, and turns it into text, and then I can just paste that into a Word document. I don't need to care about formatting. So the AI doesn't care about paragraphs, or so I can just cut and paste, cut and paste. I can go through, I can grab a chapter, and 50-page chapter I could probably do in 10 minutes by just scrolling and cutting and pasting in there. Also digitizing. I mean, I'm sure you probably got something on your phone for PDF capture or document capture. If you don't, definitely get one. So I use one called Scanner Pro. I mean, you'll definitely need one in your life. If you need to capture anything on paper or textbooks, they're so easy today. They even take a page that's kind of folded and they'll digitally flatten it out so it looks nice and pretty, and then you can load that up to notebooks. So a lot of ways to digitize stuff if it's not already convenient. All right, so that covers notebook. Let's jump into just some basic analysis here. I won't go into a lot of details. I don't want to go this too long on this, but I'm going to pull up Claude, and I have a sample. This is not real data. It's a sample data set that we use for another assignment in another class. But let me show you. Well, let's see here. Let me open it up. It's trying to load it. This is an Excel document. Here we go. So you can see what the data set looks like. So these are hypothetical programs. We've got Associate of Nursing, BSN, that's the bachelor. Oh, I enjoy. Do I enjoy Excel? Well, it's all right. Radiologic technology and physician assistant. Again, these were hypothetical that we were using, not real data. But the size of the cohort, the average admission GPA, percentage of part-time students, fall to retention, the completion rates. Are those students completing within 150% of the time that they should be completing? So example, for a 4-year degree, a bachelor's degree, you should complete in 4 years, but 150% of that would be 6 years. Are those students completing in 6 years? And they're passing exam scores. Are they passing their registry, their licensure, their NCLEX, and that. So, and then there's other in here, other information, contextual information, and also a data dictionary in there. So there's a lot in there for the AI to kind of see, even though that's not a lot of depth to it. Now, there is a little bit of a story in that data. So let's see what happens here. All you got to do is just drop the spreadsheet in there. As simple as that. And if you don't know what to say to it, ask it. Hi, I've just given you an Excel with some program information in there. Can you carefully look at the data and tell me what kind of questions can I ask about it? Let it do its thing here. Make sure I'm on Opus. Okay. See, even if I didn't know what to ask, it is giving me some great things in here. So let's what's jumping out at me. I'm going to ask about program comparisons. Tell me about program comparisons. What are some trends? What are you seeing in there? Interesting. So the story behind this data set is that, again, hypothetical data, was that our BSN program was doing worse than our ASN program, and students were, they were going to hopefully, sniff that out because it was pretty evident that, but it's also somewhat counterintuitive. You would think that a student that's with us for 4 years would do better on the NCLEX. That's their exam to be a nurse than someone who had been with us only 2 years. So that was the little twist. And obviously the AI sniffed that out immediately, and BSN is the concern. I'm going to ask it some other fun things. Can you give me any kind of visualizations about that big takeaway, and especially about the BSN ASN comparison that would be valuable for decision making, and others to see that? Now, I don't know what it's going to up with here, but let's just see about visualizations. Still thinking. I'm going to go. I gave it a pretty beefy task with not a lot of clear details. Oh, here it goes. Oh, interesting. Okay. What is it going to give here? Okay. Let's see here. Oh, looks like it's still rendering some stuff. Oh, we're going to get something pretty special, I think. All right, let me pause while it's doing this. It's go. Oh, there we go. Oh, but no need to pause. Amazing. Look at that. How long would that have taken you? That would have taken me to do it, you know, through completion rate, retention rate, ASN. Okay. You can just see, so what's the story here? The story is BSN's retention rate is going down. That was another subtext to the data. Why is it going down? Um, Students were hopefully going to sniff out that maybe, students were transferring out. Were they? Again, there's some hidden stories in there that were supposed to be found. The data is showing definitely it's there in that comparison between these two programs, between ASN, our associate, again, not ours, but an associate degree of nursing, and a bachelor of science in nursing. And then completion rates, again, going down. That kind of you'd assume that with retention as well. NCLEX pass rates holding stable for the BSN program and plummeting for the bachelor's program. And then the other story was, cohort size versus admissions GPA for the BSN program. So that's an interesting story there. So let's see, there's cohort size, GPA. So left axis, okay, cohort size. Oh, I see. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, clever. Okay. You've got cohort size here, how many students were in the program. And then you've got the admissions GPA. So what does this story tell us? And this is for the bachelor's program. So they had 130 students, but this was also their lowest GPA for those students that were starting the program. So you got to ask yourself, what's the story behind that? And it's interesting how that, yeah, with that, how they, when they eventually cross, I mean, maybe that's your, would that be your ideal cohort size? I don't know. But there's actually more problems in this data that, um, that you would want to figure out, with that particular program. And then all four programs listed there. The ASN licensure pass rates, oh, it's RadTech. Okay, yeah, staying, and BSN staying stable. All right, very or B and the BSN, I'm sorry, the BSN, that's the one that's, kind of plummeting. And there were some slight concerns with RadTech as well. There was some other stuff in the data that um, where wasn't quite as bad as the story with um, the BSN program. So very interesting. So, oh, look, we would have some narrative analysis here down here. The charts tell the story pretty well. I mean, this is amazing stuff here. And you can still go back and forth with that data set. And I've done things with data sets that were 1,000 data points. Actually, that you'd have 1,000 entries. Each one of those has about 30, um, I guess demographic pieces of information with it. And it just would blow right through. It would just gobble all that data up and be able to create analysis that would take quite a while to do. Um, Pivot tables. The question is some Excel skills dead? I would say yes. Um, the ability to do pivot tables, I mean, if you still need to learn them in a class, I wouldn't say Chris told me that they're dead, but they will be dead. They will be gone within a few years because this can do a lot of that filtering that a pivot table would do, and it does it in lightning speed and across multiple dimensions almost simultaneously. So if there's any analysis that you need to do, think about, just dropping that into your favorite AI chat, Gemini, Google, or Gemini, um, ChatGPT, or Claude, and just starting to ask questions about it. It also does very good with qualitative information, but we can talk about that later as well. So if you have a survey where people are just talking to you, and you can just, I've dumped huge quantities of survey information in here that were just narrative chats that were all just put into a giant spreadsheet of just people saying, their responses to 10 different questions. There was no numbers, they were just written responses all in a spreadsheet. Throw it in there. There's a little bit more technical process, but it can do something called thematic analysis and go through there. And what would literally take a researcher probably a week to do, I mean, this would do it iterating back and forth in about an hour. So pretty amazing stuff here. All right, so there you go. If you got a spreadsheet, dump it in here. If you need to make one that we didn't go over, it will make spreadsheets for you. So that's it. Let's say you just have some data but don't know how to put it into a spreadsheet. Give it the data. Say, what would be a good way to organize this in a spreadsheet? Can you do this for me? Can you put it in an Excel and then I can download it? Yep, it'll create an Excel file for you. Then you can download it and look at it in Word. I haven't created a manual spreadsheet in probably 2 years. So I'll have Claude or Gemini. Those are my two favorite with data analysis. Knock it out for me. There might be a few tweaks I'll do on my side once I get it downloaded, but it takes up what would be, again, multiple hours into minutes. So, all right, there you go. That's it for this week, guys. Have fun, play around with these tools. They are absolutely indispensable.